You are listening to GPR Goblin Public Radio. Coming up next, we'll be discussing the growing rate of goblin family violence at the dinner table and how this is a positive way for families to bond together.
Hey gang, and welcome back. Just so you know, you can use the promo code MTGMudsta, all caps, one word, at flipsidegaming.com to get 10% off orders $10 or more. You can also use the promo code at Original Magic Art on everything except for paintings. And finally, you can use the code at mtg.multizone.ca to get 10% off of your orders of singles. Using the code will help you save some money and help out the channel at the same time. Just to let you know, Flipside Gaming is going to be giving away a full set of Commander 2019 when it releases to one lucky winner. The contest will be running from July 12th until August 26th, and all you have to do to enter is either use my promo code MTGMudsta, all caps, no spaces, on an order of over $10 or more, or you can send a stamped, self-addressed envelope or postcard to Flipside Gaming. It's one entry per person, so good luck, have fun, and I hope you win. Hey gang, and welcome back. Today's game was filmed at a secret and undisclosed bunker somewhere in Ottawa. We have Scott playing Maelstrom Wanderer, keeping a Scalding Tarn, an Island, a Beast Within, Hinterland Harbor, Soul Ring, Boreal Druid, and Elvish Mystic. Adam is back, playing Tatyova, and he keeps Avenger of Zendikar, Court of Calling, Green Warden of Marassa, Ponder, an Island, Yavimaya Coast, and a Simic Growth Chamber. New to the channel and making his first appearance is Korlash, played by Tony, and he keeps a Withered Wretch, 2 Swamps, a Night's Whisper, Lash Wraith, Crystal Vein, and Sword of Vengeance. Also new to the channel, and new to paper, is Licia, played by Omar. He keeps a Godless Shrine, a Nomad Outpost, a Plains, a Path of Ancestry, Beacon of Immortality, Phyrexian Reclamation, and Swords to Plowshares. Omar wins the die roll and starts us off. Omar plays a tap Path of Ancestry before passing to Scott. Scott plays a Scalding Tarn, cracking it and taking 1 to go and find a Taiga. He then taps the Taiga for a Soul Ring and passes. Adam plays an Island and casts Ponder. He looks at his top 3 cards, rearranges them, and then draws before passing. Tony plays a Swamp and passes. Omar continues with the tap lands, dropping a Nomad Outpost this time before passing. Scott draws and plays Hinterland Harbor. He casts an Elvish Mystic and then a Boreal Druid, passing to Adam. Adam draws and plays a Yavimaya Coast. He proves he's the hero we need by casting Broken Bond, blowing up Scott's Soul Ring. He also gets to play a land, and a tapped Simic Growth Chamber comes in, which bounces his coast back to hand. Tony plays a Swamp and casts his Withered Wretch before passing. Omar plays a Swamp as well, and pays 3 for Phyrexian Arena. Scott plays an Island and drops a Beastcaller Savant. We then see an Azuri Renegade Leader drop by, and he passes to Adam. Adam replays the Yavimaya Coast again, and ramps a bit with Kadama's Reach. He finds a forest for the field, and an island to his hand. Tony plays a Crystal Vein, and takes 2 to cast Night's Whisper, drawing 2 cards. Omar loses 1 life to the Arena trigger, drawing a card and then drawing for turn. He plays a Blast Zone, which comes in with a counter, and he pops it immediately to tank Scott's 1-drop Mana Dorks. He then passes, and at the end of turn, Tony exiles the Boreal Druid with his Wretch. Scott draws and plays his own Yavimaya Coast. He pays 3 for Wood Elves and goes to grab a tap Stomping Ground, putting it to the field. Heading to combat, he swings a Azuri at Omar and the Savant at Adam. Adam plays Tatyova in his main phase and drops an Island, drawing a card and gaining 1 life from Tatyova's ability. Tony plays a Swamp and casts Lash Wraith before passing. Omar loses 1 life again to his Arena, drawing from it and then again for turn. He plays a Plains and casts a Rakdos Signet. We then see a Searcher Priest hitting the field, and Peter, who's not in the game, uses his body to help with some of the glare from the lights. Scott drops a Gaia's Cradle, never having taken his foot off the gas for even a second this game, and he's able to tap his lands for enough mana to cast Maelstrom Wanderer. This has him cascading twice, and he hits a Paradise Druid and a Radiclaw Mystic. These come in and each deal 1 to Scott from the Searcher Priest before the Wanderer hits as well, dealing a 3rd point of damage. Scott then heads to combat, swinging the Wanderer at Tony and Azuri at Omar. Tony blocks with his Lashwraith Germ, while Omar takes the hit for 2. Adam plays a Misty Rainforest, gaining 1 life and drawing a card from Tatyova before cracking it. He loses 1 life, but gains it back immediately as he finds a land, but takes 2 more to have Breeding Pool come in untapped. He also draws after shuffling. Adam then plays a Sylvan Library and casts Nature's Lore. He goes to grab a forest this time, gaining another life and drawing another card before passing to Tony. Tony cracks his Crystal Vein for 2 colorless, and taps 1 swamp to help cast Complete Disregard, exiling Azuri. Tony then puts the Lashwraith onto his Wretch and passes turn. Omar loses 1 again, drawing from the arena and for turn. He casts a Soul Ring and taps his Rocks and Path to help cast Cliffhaven Vampire. The Path lets him scry 1 and he keeps it on top. And he gains 1 life as the Vampire enters. This in turn triggers the Vampire and it deals 1 to each of his opponents. Omar then plays a Tap Godless Shrine and passes to Scott. Scott taps 5 mana for an Acidic Slime in his main phase, which comes in and deals 1 to Scott from the Searcher Priest. Scott then resolves the Slime trigger, blowing up Omar's arena. He heads to combat, swinging the Maelstrom at Tony again and the Slime at Adam. Both of them decide to just take the hit, and Scott then passes. Adam uses his library to look at the top 3, but doesn't keep any extra. He casts Horn of Greed in his main phase, and plays a Wooded Foothills, drawing 2 cards and gaining 1 life. He cracks the Foothills for a forest, losing 1 but gaining it back, and drawing from Tatyova as it enters. 4 mana is then tapped for Garruk Wildspeaker, #Where's Garruk, and he upticks the Walker to untap 2 lands. Moving to his end step, Adam has to discard down to 7. Tony is mana starved this game, which is really unfortunate when your commander cares about lands. He's still able to cast the EDH All-Star, Lightning Greaves, before passing to Omar. Omar is sad because he only draws 1 this turn, but he does pay 2 for a Blind Obedience. He then pays 1 for Soul Warden, extorting it and gaining 3 life, and then deals 1 to his opponents, thanks to the Cliffhaven Vampire. The Soul Warden then enters, triggering the Priest, and Omar gains another life, which in turn pings his opponents for 1 with the Cliffhaven again. Having gained 5 life this turn, Omar then taps his remaining mana with 1 floating colorless to cast Licia. She comes in, and Omar resolves the Warden trigger, gaining 1 and then dealing 1 to his opponents with the Cliffhaven. He does the same again for the Searcher Priest. Omar then passes, and at the end of turn, Scott then tries to buy some good karma with the table, and taps his Cradle for 6 green, and uses 3 to cast Beast Within on the Priest. The Priest is then destroyed, and Omar gains a life with the Warden, and Omar's opponent then lose 1 life with the Cliffhaven triggering. Adam then gets in on the action as well, and uses Nature's Claim on Blind Obedience, blowing it up and gaining Omar 4 life, which in turn triggers the Cliffhaven again, and deals 1 to each of Omar's opponents. Scott draws and goes to combat. He swings the Maelstrom again at Tony and the Slime at Garruk. Tony decides he doesn't want to take another hit, blocking with the Wretch, while Adam lets Garruk drop by 2 loyalty. Before damage is dealt though, Tony uses the Wretch to exile Blind Obedience. The Withered Wretch then trades with the Wanderer, and moving to his second phase, Scott easily has enough mana to recast the Wanderer, and does so. He cascades twice, hitting Momir Vig and an Elvish Archdruid. Because Vig is out before the Archdruid, Scott is able to tutor for a creature card when he casts it, and puts it on top with Momir's first ability. More importantly though, all of these trigger the Soul Warden each time, with Omar gaining 1 life 3 times as the creatures enter, which in turn triggers the Cliffhaven 3 times and deals 3 damage to each of his opponents. The creature card that Scott tutors for is Craterhoof. Scott then pays 2 mana for Akira's follower, and layers Momir Vig's abilities to allow him to resolve the one for blue creatures first, drawing a card, i.e. the Crater Hoof, and he then goes to tutor for another creature card. He finds Dragon Lord Atarka, putting her on top. With the follower hitting the field, this gives Omar another life, which has a Cliffhaven pinging everyone for 1 again, and Scott then passes. Adam draws and thinks about the best way to not die to the upcoming Crater Hoof the table is expecting when Scott next untaps. He casts Court of Calling where X is 6, and tutors for a creature. This drops a Royal Elemental onto Adam's side of the field, gaining Omar 1 and dealing 1 to his opponents. Adam then plays a Flooded Grove, and this gains Adam 1 life, draws him 2 cards, and lets him steal a creature. He grabs Scott's Momir Vig, which is probably the right choice. He then upticks Garruk, untapping 2 lands, and casts an Eternal Witness. This lets Adam search for a creature card with a Momir Vig trigger, and he finds his own Crater Hoof Behemoth, and we've reached a bit of a standoff. Also, the Witness coming in returns Nature's Claim to Adam's hand, and this also gains Omar 1 life and deals 1 to his opponents. Adam then passes to Tony. Tony draws and still can't find that elusive 4th land. He does cast a Masterwork of Ingenuity though, and has it come in as a copy of Lashwraith, which brings with it a Germ. This triggers the Warden again, gaining Omar 1 life while dealing 1 to his opponents with the Cliffhaven. Tony then pays to move the original Lathraith onto his new Germ, and then the Greaves before he swings it at Scott for 6. Scott blocks the Wanderer again, and with nothing else, Tony passes. Omar draws, and Adam pats his Crater Hoof because it's such a good boy. Omar announces he's moving to combat, and swings Licia at Scott. Scott declares no blocks, and before moving to damage, Omar pays 5 life into Licia's ability, putting 3 +1/+1 counters onto her. She then connects and gains Omar 7 life, and this triggers the Cliffhaven, dealing 1 to each of Omar's opponents. In Omar's second main phase, he uses Swords to Plowshares on Kira's follower. Scott exiles the creature, and gains 2 life before starting his turn. Scott untaps, and the table waits for the inevitable hoof. He taps his Archdruid for 4, and 3 more lands for Dragon Lord Atarka. With the dragon entering, Adam uses Rapid Hybridization to turn it into a frog monkey monster thing. Omar also gains 1 life from Atarka entering, and the frog monster that Atarka becomes, which also has opponents losing 2 life. They then resolve the Atarka trigger, and it deals 2 to the Royal Elemental, 1 to the Soul Warden, and 1 to the Witness, and the rest to Garruk. This has Scott regaining Momir Vig, and we then see Scott drop the inevitable Crater Hoof. He gets to go and tutor for a creature card with Momir Vig, and he finds and puts a Pharaoh Titan on top of his library. The hoof then resolves, and all creatures get +9/+9 until end of turn, and trample. Scott then heads to combat, setting the Wood Elves and the Savant at Tony to take him out, and the Slime, the Rattleclaw, and Paradise Druid at Adam to take him out, even with blocks. And he sends his remaining creatures for 25 damage at Omar. Omar declares no blocks, but before moving to damage, casts Beacon of Immortality and doubles his life. Omar then shuffles it into his library as the spell resolves, and then loses 25 life. With nothing else, Scott passes. Omar draws for turn, and pays 5 for a Sanguine Bond. He then activates Licia, giving her another 3 +1/+1 counters at the cost of 5 life, which he's more than able to spare. He moves to combat, and swings everything at Scott. Scott blocks Licia with the frog token thing, and with Licia dealing first strike damage and gaining Omar 10 life, Scott takes 10 damage from the Sanguine Bond, and then the final point of damage from the Cliffhaven Vampire before the other 2 creatures can even deal damage. Game review time! So, I think there were a few things we should go over in this game. Number 1 being that the table probably should have all recognized as soon as Omar started going off that he was the primary enemy. I do realize that everyone was at a very precariously low life total, and Scott was sitting across from Adam. This meant the turn he cast his own Crater Hoof Behemoth, if he didn't kill Adam, chances are Adam was casting his Crater Hoof Behemoth and swinging back for lethal. Beyond that, I don't think there were a ton of misplays. I will say that Tony cracking the Crystal Vein to cast Complete Disregard was probably a mistake. He didn't really need the mana, and he could have easily taken 2 life loss to equip the Lashwraith onto his creature. I think this game also highlights how well a synergy will work if you build a deck around it, and in Omar's case, that happened to be life gain. I'm pretty sure the Cliffhaven Vampire was the MVP of this game, having dealt so much damage to all of his opponents. I think it must have been upwards of 30 damage when shared amongst the life totals. Please be sure to tune in every Monday and Thursday at 11 AM Eastern Standard Time for a guaranteed new video. You can also follow me on Twitter at MTGMudsta. You can find me on Facebook at facebook.com/mtgmudsta. And lastly, you can check me out when I stream at twitch.tv/mtgmudsta. This video is brought to you in support by my patrons. If you're looking for a way to help out the channel, please be sure to visit the link below. Thank you all for watching this video, and don't forget, friends are just opponents you haven't eliminated yet.